Okay, good morning. We're going to start this press conference. I want to thank you all for being here. Yesterday, President Trump and Republicans in Congress chose Wall Street profits over a pathway out of poverty for more than 7 million Californians with no retirement security. I spent the past 8 years of my life trying to give something back to the middle class as well as to our working families. My aunt, my tia, was my inspiration. She worked her fingers to the bone and was forced to retire without a penny to her name. Now, her story is not unique. In fact, far from it. 2/3 of seniors living in poverty today are women, just like my aunt. Grandmothers, aunts, mothers, sisters. Due to Congress's failure to act, retirement insecurity now is a national epidemic. 40 million working Americans have no money whatsoever in retirement accounts. And overwhelmingly, they are mothers, they are grandmothers, working until their arms or legs physically give out. I say it's immoral. It's immoral that women who brought us into this world, who raised us, who fed us, who protected us, retire without savings to protect them. So I created an innovative retirement plan to help them save for the future. California led, other states followed. No one opposed except for a handful of big banks afraid of competition. But the power of Wall Street was not enough. But the power of Wall Street, I should say, was enough to propel congressional Republicans into action. Without any public debate, they rushed through a scheme to undermine our entire program here in California. And yesterday, by quietly signing House Joint Resolution number 66, President Trump made it official. But I'm here to tell you, we're not backing down. California will move forward with secure choice, with or without Washington's blessing. We will put the future and the well-being of our workers over Wall Street greed any day of the week. We will continue to implement and defend the Secure Choice program so Californians who have worked hard all of their lives can retire with the dignity that they deserve. I'm confident that we are on very strong legal grounds to do so, and this legal opinion is evidence of just that. With that, I'll turn this over quickly to our State Treasurer, John Chung, to the podium, but I want to just share just a quick few words in Spanish as well. En California, seguimos decididos para proveer la seguridad de jubilación para más de 6.8 millones de trabajadores que no cuentan hoy día con un plan de ahorros de retiro en su lugar de trabajo. La firma hoy día del presidente de una ley para eliminar la oportunidad para los estados que establezcan sus propios sistemas de cuentas de ahorros para la jubilación no, y quiero enfatizar y subrayar lo siguiente, no nos detendrá de ninguna manera. Fue un acto de servilismo para los intereses de Wall Street, para terminar con el programa de ahorros de jubilación. Trabajar hasta la tercera edad solo para jubilarse en la pobreza no es lo que representa el sueño americano. 2/3 de estos jubilados son mujeres viviendo en la pobreza, abuelas, madres, tías, primas, hermanas. Seguiremos defendiendo nuestro programa de ahorros, opción segura de jubilación del Estado de California para que los californianos que trabajan duro toda su vida puedan jubilarse a una edad razonable y con dignidad y respeto. With that, it is a pleasure to bring my good friend and partner of mine in this pathway, in this journey, to bring retirement security to all Californians, our treasurer of the state of California, Mr. John Chung.
Good morning, and thank you to the Senate President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon for authoring this important legislation, and to thanking Blanca from AARP, Yvonne from SEIU, and Mark from Small Business Majority. President Trump and congressional Republicans style themselves as populist champions of everyday Americans. But last week's vote to pass HJR 66 was for a broken status quo. That status quo, built by Wall Street and rigged to pad their bottom lines with billions of dollars in fee revenues, and make no mistake about it, it's about making and lining their own nests, abandoned nearly 7.5 million California workers and has been propelling them toward retirement years of poverty and economic hardship. Addressing this retirement crisis in our state was one of my chief priorities when I became your state treasurer 2 years ago. I immediately set out to stand up the Secure Choice program. That included a series of listening tours where I heard from hard-working Californians who expressed frustration and feeling of abandonment that leaders in Washington, D.C. have done nothing to address the retirement security epidemic. Repeatedly, I heard stories from people who said they were frightened at the prospect of living in an impoverished retirement, that too many Californians too well understand, where they will have to choose between paying the rent or putting food on the table. And others fear they will simply never retire and have to work until the grave. It is time to get real. America's retirement crisis has arrived, and it's our generation's call to action to solve this very problem. And because Congress failed to address our country's retirement security crisis in a meaningful way, states like California, Oregon, and Illinois have sought solutions by turning to their historic roots as laboratories for social and economic advancement. As a result, California created a simple, voluntary, and portable program for people to save their own money, the Secure Choice Retirement Savings Program. Secure Choice has been hailed as the most significant advancement in retirement security since Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act in 1935. It will directly help restaurant and agricultural workers, retail store clerks, and bicycle shop mechanics, and many other workers not employed by businesses large or fortunate enough to offer their own retirement plans. Now, the White House and its friends on Wall Street want to rip away these plans from the hands of millions of Californians by preventing states the freedom to provide those workers with hope and opportunity. Well, I am here to tell you that we won't let that happen here in this Golden State. While I am deeply, deeply disappointed by this most recent egregious example of typical Beltway deal-making that once again favors Wall Street banks over Main Street workers, I am more resolved than ever to standing up for secure choice. I recently hired Katie Selinsky, as California's first executive director of Secure Choice. Katie and I will aggressively push forward despite the action out of Washington, as we will get this critical program off the ground to help all Californians enjoy a dignified retirement. We are not alone. We have the support, as we pointed out, by our great Senate President Pro Tem, Governor Brown, small business groups, AARP, Yvonne and Labor, millennial advocacy organizations, and many, many more. Having consulted with legislative leaders and legal counsel, I am convinced that while Congress has dealt us a setback, it is not enough to push our coalition off the moral and legal high ground that we hold firmly. We will continue to press forward. We will not abandon our working roots. We will fight to empower all workers to begin saving now for their retirement years, and we will implement secure choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Next up, we have from the Small Business Majority, Mr. Mark Herbert. Mark.
Good morning. My name is Mark Herbert. I'm California Director for Small Business Majority. We are a national small business education and advocacy organization. And first, let me just thank Senate Pro Tem and the California Treasurer for their steady and unwavering leadership in moving this critical program forward for California small businesses. Congress's decision to overturn the U.S. Department of Labor's ruling is disappointing and short-sighted. We talk to small businesses all the time, and we know that most lack the resources and administrative capacity to offer retirement programs to their employees. We also know that 66% of the 7.5 million Californians that could access retirement programs work for small employers. And that's why it's so critical that small employers have the tools and resources that they need so that they can offer these programs to their employees. Small business owners know that this puts them at a disadvantage when they aren't able to offer the same quality benefits as their larger competitors, and it also impacts employee morale. And what's more is we know that California small businesses want this. Last year, we released a poll with AARP that showed 2/3 of California small business owners supported this program and support this initiative here in this state. In talking to businesses across the state, we know that there's sort of three main barriers when it comes to small employers creating a retirement program for themselves and their employees. One is cost, administrative complexity, and liability. And California Secure Choice solves all three of those barriers and creates this opportunity for small employers. California small employers need retirement savings options that make sense for business and their bottom lines, and a plan like California Secure Choice does just that. Despite the bad news from Washington, we are proud of our leadership here in California as we continue to move forward to make this benefit and this opportunity a reality for hundreds of thousands of California small business owners. And California continues to set the example for how states can better serve their small business community. As we move forward here with Secure Choice, I am confident that other states will look to California as a model for the steps that can be taken to help small firms and their employees thrive. Thank you.
Next, we have a member of the California Secure Choice Board and a incredibly strong supporter since day one when I moved Senate Bill 1234. In fact, even before Senate Bill 1234, when I had various iterations of a retirement security plan in proposal idea. That is no other than the leader of SEIU Local 1000, Ms. Yvonne Walker. Yvonne.
Good morning. I want to offer thanks to our wonderful pro tem who has championed this issue, our treasurer, and all the elected leaders here in California who saw the wisdom of moving the Secure Choice bill. You know, the resolutions in Washington, they're not going to stop us because we're going to work to ensure that all working Americans have the retirement they deserve, that they earn from working all their lives. I am proud of the fact that I live in California. I am proud of the fact that we are not willing to let even one fall through the cracks. And we are as determined as ever to move the launch of the California Secure Choice. I view it as it's our duty. It is our personal responsibility. It is what defines us as a society of how we take care of others. And I, for one, am not comfortable with someone who has worked all of their life to then have to retire in poverty. For a parent who has provided for their families all their lives to all of a sudden not be able to provide and have to rely on their children for support. This is not acceptable for me personally, and it certainly is not acceptable for the California that I know that we are. We are going to continue to push forward, and thank you all.
Next, representing an organization, one of the leading organizations for the entire nation, a leading voice when it comes to the issues of retirement security. I can't say enough about AARP. They have been there at the forefront with us since day one. They have an incredible voice, and they work so hard in Washington to try to bring some wisdom to the members of Congress and to the U.S. Senate with regards to the importance of retirement security. Representing them here in the state of California is no other than Blanca Castro. Blanca.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Pro Tem. I'm Blanca Castro. I'm the Advocacy Director for AARP California. And let me just say, on behalf of AARP's 3.3 million members here in the state of California, we applaud the Senate Pro Tem De Leon and our State Treasurer Chung for their leadership and their strong commitment to continue building on the progress that we have made these past 5 years. We're going to ensure that California workers have a way to save for their future. AARP is ready to put their muscle behind this. We're not giving up. We are building the California Secure Choice Retirement Savings Program for California. And we're going to make this a reality for the nearly 7 million men and women who currently do not have access to an employer-based retirement plan. AARP knows all too well we cannot afford to stand by and do nothing. This is just not a California problem. There are 55 million Americans today that are working for employers and they don't have any way to save for their future. They don't have a way to save for their families. That's almost half of the private sector workers who are ages 18 years to 64 years old. These men and women, they may face retirement with little more than their Social Security benefits. And more than likely, they're going to need to resort to the taxpayer finance services. The average Social Security benefit is $16,000 a year. And that alone is not sufficient for a comfortable retirement. In fact, new AARP research found that in California, we would save $1.4 billion in public assistance programs between 2018 and 2032 if lower income retirees save enough to increase their retirement income just by $1,000 more per year. So, AARP, we stand ready. We're engaging our millions of volunteers and our members to move forward, and we're going to create the California Secure Choice here in our state. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with any questions that folks may have of anyone here today. Yes.
If the safe harbor was pre-existing from 1975, why didn't you rely on that safe harbor to begin with instead of, you're saying that there was existing law on how much you could build secure choice in his legal opinion, so why didn't you go that route to begin with?
Well, I think we wanted to make sure we had some real clarity, so this wouldn't be interpreted in the courts of law. Obviously, it would have been difficult to do this statutorily because we had a Congress that was hostile to this idea. So we did so through the executive branch, through the regulatory, through a new regulatory scheme. We worked, as you know, with then Secretary of Labor Ilda Solis and then Secretary of Labor Tom Perez. Both John and I, and as well as others, made numerous trips to Washington. We wanted to provide certain clarity without the courts making any type of interpretation. However, that being said, now with House Joint Resolution number 66, we always believed still that we were in a safe harbor according to the ERISA rules. If we have to litigate, obviously we will litigate. Well, we're not quite sure yet, but if we have to make a necessary amendment to make any adoptions, we will do so. But we feel very confidently that we're in safe legal space.
So doing it this way does expose you to more of a chance of litigation than you would have faced.
I mean, there's always a possibility. There's always a possibility. I won't comment for the folks who may litigate or may not litigate. I'm not sure about that. Could there be litigation? There could be litigation, but if there is, we will be prepared. Laws are created statutorily or through the regulatory framework all the time, whether in the state capitol or whether in Washington, and at times they are litigated because people have their differences of opinion and want to fight it out in a court of law. So I can't say for sure if there will be litigation, but we're always prepared. But let me underscore one thing which is really important. We feel soundly confident that we are in a safe legal harbor to move forward with this retirement program for millions of Californians who desperately need it. Absolutely, please, John.
The Senate President Pro Tem, in being responsive to the concerns of the interested parties when this legislation was being advanced, there was concerns raised by the California Chamber of Commerce and the California Manufacturing and Technology Association, who wanted to make sure that there were indeed covered by the safe harbor provisions. So we did this as a favor to them. We did not need to, we felt comfortable when we went and hired national outside legal counsel. We had affirmation that when you look at the tools that we're going to employ in this particular program, the IRAs have long been in existence for decades. But we wanted to make sure that we address the concerns of interested parties, and so that's why the AARP was incredibly generous in making those introductions. As Kevin pointed out, we had meetings at the White House with our senators, with members of Congress, people on both sides of the aisles, to make sure that we could get to a better point, not just for California, but for other jurisdictions that wanted to address this particular issue. So we did this as a courtesy and trying to be responsive to all the particular parties. We feel strong about the safe harbor. If people are going to challenge it, and we expect that there will be challenges, right? The resistance that has been put up today has been by Wall Street. Wall Street is going to take it to everyday workers, and they want to make sure that they can find every single penny for themselves instead of keeping it with the 7.5 million people here in California who deserve and are entitled to retirement security.
So the concern of the employers from last year, the chamber, they felt that it could put businesses in jeopardy of being sued. I mean, do you feel that this new interpretation, the legal opinion puts them on safe ground, or should they have any reason to be concerned about how this is going to?
But we've always felt that they were on unsafe ground. We never deviated from that perspective from day one. As John just mentioned, we did this as an extra favor, which cost us money in numerous trips back to Washington, D.C. It was always our position from day one that small businesses, medium-sized businesses, businesses that don't offer any type of retirement security at their place of employment would be perfectly safe and not susceptible to any type of litigation. So that was always our perspective from day one.
And so to answer that question is yes, right? They have de minimis responsibilities, right? They are passing along information to their employees. So we've kept the obligations, and I don't even want to grant the word obligations, what they're doing to a very minimal activity.
Does the design of the program have to change at all? I mean, does it still work as you envisioned?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact, and I think Blanca and Yvonne mentioned it eloquently. You have 7 million Californians today who have no access to any type of retirement security at their place of employment. And as John just mentioned, our controller, this is the largest expansion of retirement security since FDR, since the New Deal, since the establishment of Social Security. The fact is that we have millions of Californians that retire into poverty. The fact is that we have millions of Californians who retire when their arms or their legs, their backs, their shoulders, their waists physically give out. Well, who foots the bill? Because Social Security won't suffice, we know that, to pay for the medications, for the food, for the rent. It is taxpayers, collectively. That's why we designed this program. And the difference is, again, it goes back to California being the national laboratory for progressive policy, because we see and recognize a severe crisis, a major problem, and we look for solutions, unlike what is happening in Washington, where the Republicans capitulate, to Wall Street almost immediately with the president. And the president has no idea what House Joint Resolution number 66 even is. He doesn't even understand the retirement crisis. He just signs what he's told to sign. And the reality is this is not just a California issue, this is a national issue, because 40 million Californians of all walks and talks and ages, will suffer from retirement insecurity. All right?
What's the
Anything?
timeline then? Do you think you have a timeline for when this might?
Our idea is to go live in 2018.
And what do you lose specifically from these Labor Department guidelines being revoked? Is it just like a sense of legal security basically that's now that you don't have?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why I think John said it perfectly well. John said that, we didn't have to do this, but we did this for clarity on our own dime, not on Washington's dime. But we're still going to move forward because we believe strongly that we are in a safe, legal safe harbor.
We did this for the Chamber and CMTA. We did this for the Chamber and CMTA so that we could have them feel rest assured for whatever questions they may have had. But as I stated, we're hovering at the same place we were before without the rule. Now, obviously, clearly, we'd like to have that rule, but the legal arguments are the same.
¿Cómo va a funcionar este programa para la comunidad?
Yo creo que el enfoque, el objetivo siempre era proveer un programa de retiro, de jubilación para los 7 millones de personas que trabajan desde la madrugada hasta el anochecer, haciendo todo lo posible para mejorar sus vidas cotidianas. Un mayor porcentaje de las personas de la tercera edad son mujeres que se retiran en la pobreza, y no creo que es justo, y yo creo que es inmoral que estas mujeres sean madres, abuelas, tías, hermanas, que se jubilan en la pobreza, siempre y cuando dedican toda su vida trabajando, pagando el techo, agua, luz, la comida para sus hijos. Eso es un programa, es algo muy único a nivel nacional aquí en este gran país. Y a mí me da mucha tristeza que el presidente Donald Trump y los republicanos en el Congreso, la Cámara Baja y la Cámara Alta, han intentado destrozar este programa, pero que quede muy claro, nosotros vamos a marchar adelante. Mi amigo aquí, el tesorero John Chung del estado de California, nuestros aliados AARP, Blanca Castro, Iván Walker, la presidenta de SIU local número 1000, vamos colectivamente a marchar adelante para proveer este programa a nuestra gente.
¿Qué tipo de reacciones esperan después de este anuncio?
¿Mande?
¿Qué tipo de reacciones esperan en esta edad?
Bueno, yo creo que se ponen, ¿no? A nuestras acciones, pero nosotros también vamos, de todas maneras, quiero enfatizar, vamos a marchar adelante, con el apoyo o sin el apoyo de Washington.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.